I'd like to call to order the Bucksport Town Council meeting for Thursday, November 9th, 2017. Roll call, please, Kathy.
Joseph York.
Here.
Paul Rath.
Here.
David Key.
Here.
David Keane.
Here.
Peter Stewart.
Here.
Paul Godwin.
Here.
Robert Carmichael.
Here.
Okay, item 3 is presentation of any town council recognitions. We don't have any. Item 4 is consider minutes of previous meetings. We're all set there. Item 5 is to receive and review correspondence and documents. The first one being a safety and enhancement grant approval for a vehicle prison transportation cage for the police cruiser. Do we have anybody from the police department here tonight?
No.
I do have a...
It was basically a two-thirds grant, wasn't it, to cover the cost of what that was? Yeah.
The grant is intended to cover two-thirds of the cost up to, but not to exceed, $733.33 when your project is complete. So how would the council like to proceed?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
We have motion and second to approve the safety enhancement grant. Anything from the public? From the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Next one being Down East Transportation Ridership. You all have copies of those?
Yep.
Any questions? Seems like that program is going pretty well.
Yep.
Any comments from the public on the, yes, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to call attention to the Ellsworth American this week has a wonderful article on the front page on the transportation opportunities here in the town of Bucksport. Some of the ladies that are normally here are not here tonight. And I just would suggest you check that out. It's a great opportunity to talk about how wonderful our work is that we're doing here and the work that those ladies are doing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council on that? If not, we'll go to item C, a letter of support from Rural Manufacturing Development Assistant Program. This is basically from George Javaris.
It's actually from Sue,
Oh, is it?
writing to him,
Okay.
talking about how we're going to operate and go forward.
Okay. Any comments on that from anybody? Okay, that is public information, a letter from the town manager to the Rural Manufacturing and Development Assistance Program. Okay, number 6 is new ordinances to be considered or introduced. You don't have any, I don't believe. Okay, we'll go to item 7. Discussion items for manager's clarification or direction or council discussions or inputs on issues. The first one being Heart and Souls, program update and funding request. We have somebody here from Heart and Souls.
I'm Nancy Minot, Bucksport citizen and part-time coordinator of the Bucksport Heart and Soul. Thank you, Mayor and Town Councilors, for this opportunity to update you on Bucksport Heart and Soul's work. Our written report for last month's work is included in your packet. I did notice that the community economic developers report kind of came in between 2 pages of our report, so I don't want you to miss page 2 of the Heart and Soul work. I'd like to take a couple of minutes to highlight a few aspects of our current work and then mention a few of our achievements to date. Melissa Lalonde will continue to outline the Heart and Soul work through March of 2018. Presently, we're engaged with the community in writing the Heart and Soul summary statements that capture the themes in our data, the comments from the people's stories. They will express a shared vision of what matters most and will be used to guide future decisions in the town. We have held 3 of these statement events so far and invite you to join us for the final statement event on Thursday, November 16th, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Heart and Soul headquarters. Dinner will be served. We're gratified that 3 counselors so far have attended one of these sessions, and we hope others of you might attend. I think you'll find the process valuable. At this event, some of the more than 4,000 comments which relate to education, infrastructure, and town government will be reviewed, determining the attributes, what matters, and the benefits, why they matter to the people in town. I brought along a few of these comments pertaining to town government to give you a feel for this and whet your appetite for more. So there are a few folks in the town council attendance here that are just going to read a few that pertained. These people that are reading them are not responsible, however, for the comment. It may or may not reflect their own feelings of what matters and why.
Okay, if you're not raising the bar, you're not moving forward. I think the hardest work is still to come, but we have no choice.
Maybe others just stand up and...
Of course.
We really like the fact that the town is trying so hard to become a community that's trying to bring in new things to do every year and really try to have these community events.
I love the movie theater. That is the best. The town government is proactive and always has been to one degree or another.
I have tremendous confidence in the council, the way they work, and I can't say enough nice things about them.
That was from you, right, Paul?
I would like to see greater emphasis involving our youth in town development and town politics, and learning how a small town has to be run by the citizens who live here.
I think it's going to be important for the future of the town for the council to continue to evolve in a progressive way.
I'm especially encouraged for the support of the town manager and our town council.
The infrastructure in this town is phenomenal. We need to capitalize on that.
Thank you. So that gives you a little bit, but you'll probably want to hear more of what the public thinks of this and education and the infrastructure. Now just a few noteworthy items. We are looking back a little bit over some of our achievements over the last year and a half to 2 years, and these were a few we thought were noteworthy. Bucksport Heart and Soul has received recognition from the Maine state government on 2 different occasions, from the Eastern Maine Development Corporation through a Rising Star Award, and from other Maine towns with offers to speak at conferences and to share Bucksport's Heart and Soul process. Secondly, this is impressive, over 12,000 volunteer hours have been logged. And that is, and then in addition to that, hundreds of community people have participated and continue to participate in the Heart and Soul process. About 20 new faces have attended our present phase of writing summary community statements. And finally, the Heart and Soul headquarters continue to be used by many community organizations and will be open for community events during December and the following months through March. Thank you, and Melissa will now outline briefly our Heart and Soul work through March. Briefly. Did you have a question?
I had a question for you. During our power outage, you guys were open quite often. I noticed a lot of people in and out. And I thought that was great.
It was exciting, really. I felt like we were a little bit isolated from the rest of the community because we had power and we had heat, and
Sure.
people would come in and charge their phones, and some of the Heart and Soul folks moved in, and Chris established a little kitchen for himself with a microwave and his little office there. And actually, the morning of the storm, living in town, I didn't either really know the extent of the storm that was going on around me. It was windy, but I left at about 7:45 to go down to prepare for a 10 o'clock event. And there was a shovel blowing up Main Street and covers to things, and I just put them, over to the side. And I did notice that the water was pretty crazy, but I went about preparing for the event. And Chris came in and said, "Do you know there's a big storm out there? There are trees across the road, and should we cancel?" And I said, "Well, let's just go for it, even if it's just a couple of us." And there were 15 people there that day. 15 people showed up that morning, so maybe it was the lights, the electricity, the phone charging.
I just thought I wanted to commend you on having it open for people to use. I was actually running to get fuel for my generator, but and I thought it was nice to see.
Thanks, Paul. It was great to have that opportunity to have it open. So, the Community Heart and Soul process has 4 phases. Phase 1, just to quickly review, was to lay the groundwork. Phase 2 was the longest phase, and that consisted of gathering and sharing stories from the community, from every corner of the community. Phase 3, we're just on the cusp of Phase 3, and that's the phase in which decisions are made based on the thousands of comments reflecting what's important to the people of our community. So during this Phase 3, we'll be analyzing comments and really looking for trends, looking at concerns, and then asking ourselves, what's underneath that concern? What do we have the power to do something about, and what do we not? So we will be kind of deeply analyzing those. And then in Phase 4, we shed light on potential actions and actions for our future. We'll be partnering with any and all appropriate groups to put into action those ideas that seem doable and that reflect what's important to people. And I'd like to give you just an example of that. We over and over and over and over again, we hear how being a friendly, welcoming, small-town community is important to people, and everything that goes along with that. So with that in mind, because we've heard that so many hundreds of times, it's possible that somebody might want to do a welcome wagon project of some kind. And in that, we might partner with churches and youth groups or just youth, individual youth, and possibly the Chamber of Commerce or anybody else to do some kind of welcoming baskets for newcomers or whatever. That's just an example of how we might go forward, always basing what we do on what matters most to people. And finally, we hope to end with some seed money to encourage those actions and to help those to happen. So, do you have any questions? All right. We're always open for questions, so if you think of something tomorrow, don't hesitate.
Actually, one question. The building that you're in, was I right that the use only went to the end of this year, or did we get an extension?
We have an extension until the end of March,
Okay.
Peter.
Mm-hmm. Right, thanks.
Thank you.
Can I got a question?
Yes.
You mentioned like decision making and what's going on. How do you anticipate that happening? Is it Heart and Souls going to make major decisions, or
No.
are they going to bring recommendations to the council?
We'll bring recommendations to the council. The only time, David, that we might go ahead and do something without the council is if it really has nothing to do with the council. But always we'll bring things to the council or whoever might be taking. And I'm thinking, well, let's take the example I gave you. That would be brought to the council more for if somebody were to start a welcome wagon kind of a project. I would certainly think they would come and at least inform the council, if not ask for permission. So I'm trying to think of an example in which maybe the council might not be brought into it.
I think maybe what the mayor was thinking, and I think what Lana's thinking was, if you're going to set some type of policy that's going to affect how the town is run or something like that, I think that's, I think that's sort of making sure that
they come back with, and I'll probably mess it up, John Paul will, but come back with a major theme. And this is an action that, based on the input and and what we're reading and hearing from people, you might consider, the council might consider going in this direction or doing something in this area because we're hearing from people who say that's important to them. Is that, am I?
Yes.
That would be nice.
It depends on whether she'll relinquish her position to you.
60 seconds.
Yes, but really what the Heart and Soul will present is these value statements that we're working on. And you know, with the hopes that those value statements are utilized with the council or any other group in town making decisions and go back to, is this really what the, you know, the values is what the citizens wanted. So it's by no means are we making recommendations. We're just trying to play back to the people of decision power what the citizens came up with as value statements, and then you know you recognize those value statements when you're making decisions. So.
And the ideas part, in terms of action, have all come from the people also. Like, they were a part of the stories. We would say, you know, what do you hope for in the future? Do you have ideas? And so all that is a part of our data. And as Melissa said, during this next phase, after we complete all what matters, that's what we're doing with these statements, then we look at all those hopes, concerns, and ideas and say, do these match with our value statements or our summary statements of what matters to people? And the community is constantly brought in to be a part of that. You do a feasibility and impact kind of study around any of these ideas and which would have the most impact, and people choose, and of course you'd be updated on all that, and we hope that you'll all be a part of that as community members. I did just have a handout that just briefly for your own looking at lays out the next phase, and then an invitation to Thursday's meeting.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions, any financial questions?
I'd like to open it up to the public, though.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mayor, I guess just for procedure, that agenda item had kind of two items, and you want to just open this up to the public and then have me address the request for funds? Is that how you want to work it?
That's a little further down here. Let's see. No, you can, okay. Let's open this up, and then you can come back immediately for the...
All right. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from the citizens to the Heart and Soul organization? Council?
One of the great things about Heart and Soul, I think, is that no one in the community can say that they didn't have their opportunity to express their views about what direction they'd like to have the town go, what ideas they have. I mean, they've had it open to the public for a long time, many months now. So, and there's still time to do that if you haven't done it yet. So thank you for providing the forum for the citizenry to do that.
Yes, sir.
My wife Leslie and I attended and participated in one of these. Actually, the facilitator, Jane LaFleur, was there the evening that we went over. One of the questions we asked was interesting is she currently is doing 9 of these throughout the state of Maine. 2 of them are complete. We seem to be in one of the more advanced. Others are falling behind us, but there's 9 of them going on actually. And one of the towns that completed it actually, I don't know if you call it mission statements, but the ideas that came from people in the town are now posted in their town municipal building as some ideas of where the townspeople would like to go. I agree with what Mr. Key just said here. It's an opportunity to hear what people out back are thinking, as well as, you know, inside the compact, and a whole range of things. It was an interesting process, so thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm Chris White. I am a resident, and I'm also involved to a degree with Heart and Soul. But I think it's also important to kind of back off, and I think of this time in history and what we have just been experiencing, watching television and whatnot, with crises taking place, shootings and whatever, those kind of intense crises that hit a community. And recently right here in Bucksport, we had the windstorm. And the townspeople came forward and cleaned up the mess. And we're still cleaning up the mess. It's an intense process that we're still working on. The closing of the mill almost brought on a sense of panic. But I think it's very important to realize that this community has come forth and is maintaining a forward-looking stance on bringing this, refitting this community. And Heart and Soul is very much a part of that. And having that building down in the center of town has become a focus point for that effort. And I think that is extremely important. And the whole idea that this process of keeping the community working together, looking forward, is a long-term process. It'll go way beyond March. But the pieces of this, what was just described to you, are the footnotes that you guys are going to work from, and this whole community is going to work from. And I think it's very important to maintain the momentum that we've been able to get moving, and the amount of people that are all of a sudden, and it's really, I'm amazed in the last 3 or 4 weeks, the new people that are coming forward. This is a great sense of, it's almost a wave of energy that's coming to us, and I'm astounded by it. It's wonderful. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, we're going to go on to the second part of this, is the funding request by Heart and Souls.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John Paul Lalonde, Bucksport. So I think before we get into the actual request, it's good to back up and say, where were we financially wise when we first started this project? When we came up with the original budget, it was a total of $177,500 we thought the project would cost. Now, some of that was, about $45,000 of that was in-kind, volunteer hours that we talked about, other donated things. And another big chunk of it was 75% of the community and economic development coordinators job. So you can say that is real money or not, because the town was going to pay that position, but that was really what the biggest chunk of the thing was. Those two things. But even without that, the budget was roughly about $50,000. So as we got into it, and economic development in the community started to ramp up at a faster pace than we thought it would, and it was recognized that Rich's time would be better spent on the economic development. That's when we had to rethink how we were going to do this. And so that's when we went to the council and asked for $20,000 to pay for a year of part-time coordinators stipend. That was roughly a year ago. I think it was November of 2016. Now here we are a year later. Originally also we'd hoped that the project would end by it'd be a 2-year project, so it would end at the end of 2017. Partially because of that transition, partially because the story gathering phase took us, we didn't want to cut it off. People wanted to continue to tell stories, so we kept it going. We recognized that it's going to take us until the end of March to complete the project. So what does that mean? It means that if we're going to continue to have a part-time coordinator, it's going to require really 4 more months of coordinators stipend. It means that if we're going to continue to stay in that building to complete the project while we're in that building, it's going to be 3 more months of building expense. And so with that, we said, okay, we still have some money left over from the grants we got, and about $2,500, close to $3,000 worth of donations we've received throughout the process to help pay for some of that. But how else are we going to do it? If we really feel that the coordinator time is that important, and staying in that building, which not just for Heart and Soul, but for all the other things that the building's being used for, other groups in town, like Council Gavin said, a place where people went during the power outages. So, what does that mean? Well, it would mean an additional $8,000 is what the request would be. It's kind of if you looked at what's that 8,000 for, it's almost split between those two big items. But our expense for those 3 months is going to be more. But we do, like I say, we still have some money in the kitty for from the grants we received. That so that's so if I think from what that original estimate was of what it was going to cost for the project, in the end we're going to come under that, but but because of needing the money to pay for the part-time coordinator as opposed to just utilizing Rich's time for that, that's really where the added expense for that, out of the pocket expense, if you will, that was needed. That and keeping the building open for another 3 months. So, but Richard Rosen is in agreement of letting us stay in the building for another 3 months. The unfortunate thing is those are the 3 months that it costs a lot to keep that building open for paying for the utilities.
Sounds to me like a week ago a lot of people could have used that. So,
yeah. So, any questions?
No, I just like, would you all stand up from the Heart and Soul core group that are here again? Because these are the people, there was mentioned, there's a lot of people that have been part of the different events that have taken place, but this group of folks, the core, that's the word, they are the core group, they are the nerve of this whole thing, and they work tirelessly as volunteers to get the momentum going and to keep the momentum going. So I think you deserve a round of applause.
You're requesting 8,000?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to take that up a little bit further down, okay, on the agenda items. Okay, we're on discussion items right now. Item B is Royal Ridge Lane Road and Stormwater Management Acceptance.
The Streets and Road Committee met, and the town received the information from DEP, or EPA, that affirmed the road work that needed to be done. It's in the right condition. Jay has also looked at that and affirmed that, so our recommendation is to move ahead and approve the resolve.
Yeah, that's coming up later.
Coming up.
Okay.
So contrary to what we sometimes read in the paper, this may actually be resolved tonight.
That's our recommendation.
Okay, item C is decorating committee request. Mr. Grindle.
You guys have a sheet of paper there that has the amounts and whatnot on it. That's going to be, I'll explain. We went through and I looked at the numbers scheduled for this year for trees and supplies and a couple new things that we're going to do to reduce the number of trees that we get and also the number of them that are kind of in the way of the highway crew and the sidewalk and so on and so forth. Last year, the fund balance that's here at the town office for that got drained pretty good because we had to purchase new barrels because they were pretty dilapidated from X amount of years prior, so that wiped it out a good chunk of that. So the sheet of paper in which you have the $2,700 is going to fund the purchase of the Christmas trees. It's 58 trees compared to 65. What it does is it shaves off the 15 poles that are from here to the Harborview Grill, that you see a big tree that's kind of half in the way on the sidewalk, and we're going to go through and wrap those power poles with white lights. It'll look nice and go in with the wreaths. So that's the plan for those. The difference between 58 and 65, you say, Chris, is not 15. That accounts for our new businesses that we have on Main Street that haven't had them in years past. So there's a few here and there, and a couple of them on the outskirts of town that want to participate as well. So that covers the cost for that. The only other line that's in that is a little bit in supplies for extension cords here and there, and then the bucket truck rental. So in addition to that, aside from necessarily the funding request, but I'll take a second to tell you the dates and times. You guys have that in your emails, but for everyone else on TV and everyone here listening, you're certainly welcome to attend on Saturday. We're putting the Christmas trees in the barrels this Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. up at the ice skating rink. Next week is the more fun day where we'll go on Main Street and decorate with the Christmas lights, put them out and things like that. The following Saturday after Thanksgiving will be the holiday lighting ceremony, where everything in town will come on. That's always a pretty fun event. That's for 6 p.m. that day. It comes in after Small Business Saturday going on that day, ends at about 6 is what we're advertising. So at that time, everyone meet up for hot cocoa and whatnot out here in front of the town office and watch the place light up. Last event on the docket for the town-sponsored things for this year is the Holiday Lighting Parade, the 9th of December, 5 o'clock. Be going along Main Street, but I got to finalize the details of lineup and the route here coming up because I'm expecting a lot more folks interested in a lot more floats in it this year. So that's that for holidays on Main Street, Bucksport, USA. So.
Now,
questions or anything?
You're requesting $2,700?
Yep.
And what is in the decorating account right now?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Yep.
And haven't we always put a certain amount in every year, but we kind of...
The last few years it hasn't.
Right.
What it has in the budgets that I looked at 3+ years ago, it was a consistent line of a few, it varied each year between 500 to a little under 1,000 or so for the sake of lights and things like that just to kick in. It was funded for the most part on donations and things that folks would drop off here at the town office. So everyone who loves the nice white Christmas lights and decorations in downtown certainly drop a donation off. We are still accepting those, of course. But the amount that we had in donations on the ledger from last year and the last 3 years where it had cycled out of the budget was used up, like I had mentioned, for the barrels. So that's where we're at right now, was basically to get a kickstart going, and then I'm hoping for some donations to flow in, to flow over for the next fiscal year to keep chugging.
I think, brightening up downtown actually will bring in more people. Our businesses should see a better Christmas season, and basically I think it tells people that we're still alive, we're here, and we're thriving here in Bucksport. So it doesn't. Do we have any specific area where it's going to come out of? Is it just undesignated funds, or?
I believe so. I submitted the numbers to the town manager. She didn't mention where. I would imagine so.
Okay.
Be transferred over to the current fiscal year's expense account for decorating.
I think on the resolve it says where it comes from.
Does it?
Yeah, on the resolve.
Okay. We're taking that up in the resolve further down.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, item D is Upper Long Pond property owner concerns, reference to ordinance requirements. Jeffrey, do you have anything on us on this?
Nothing about it.
Do we have anybody from the Upper Long Pond Road?
I assumed that gentleman was informed that it was going to be taken up tonight. I don't know, because Sue's not here, but she always does, so I assumed that happened. But if you should call and say, I didn't know, I assume we could also get him back on the agenda for a later meeting.
I can tell you, though, that I believe it's involving a property owner who has been in contact with me about getting the necessary permits to occupy the property. And we're working together on making that happen, so it's probably why they're here tonight.
I believe this was on the agenda as a discussion item to allow that gentleman to come here and speak. Is that what we're...
I'm not sure what he was going to speak about, but I'm just letting you know that,
Okay. All right.
that we've been working together to get things straight.
The email that Sue sent out earlier says the Upper Long Pond residents are unhappy about our rules regarding living in campers for more than 7 months, needing septic system, etc. Jeff's been trying to work with them to be as flexible as he can, but they're unhappy about the rules. So my guess is we could push something to an ordinance committee, and if they want to come in, we can talk about that, but there's no way here.
All right, we're going to go on to agenda items. Item A, to approve Resolve 2018-25, to approve the municipal review election ballot for the election of 3 directors to serve from January 2018 to December 30th, 2020.
Motion approved. Second.
We have motion and a second to approve the resolve. Anything further from the public? From the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Going on to item B, to approve Resolve 2018-26, to approve the sale of a 2008 trackless attachment to a high bidder, Mark Freeman, for $5,500.
Motion to accept. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolve. Anything further from the public? From the council?
This is the last piece that was out for bid, right?
Yep.
Perfect.
Is this the old sidewalk?
Yep.
Okay. You think you got a pretty good price for it?
Well, we initially bid it out back in the spring, and we set a minimum price of $5,000 for bids. We received 0 bids. So we figured, well, we'll wait closer to fall, winter season, maybe we'll drum up more interest. Well, we set the minimum back to $3,500 this time. Hopefully we can get something. And we only had 2 bids, but the high bidder was $5,500, which was higher than we asked the first time.
Sold.
So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Anything else from the council? Yes, Joe.
Are we gonna put that money towards the lights on Main Street?
Good thought. That goes into your equipment reserve account, right? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item C, to approve Resolve R 2018-27, to approve decorating committee funding for 2017 holiday season. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolve. Anything further from the public? From the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item D, to approve Resolve R 2018-28, to approve up to $8,000 in funding to complete the Heart and Soul project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolve. Anything further from the public? Yes, sir.
What kind of fundraising efforts are they putting out other than just the grants? They didn't mention what they were doing for fundraising.
Can somebody from Heart and Soul answer that?
Yeah, outside of donations that we've picked up, like I mentioned, over the last roughly 2 years now, we've picked up about $2,000 donations, just people paying for either specific items or I know at one point there was a member of the committee that did some active fundraising and generated about almost $1,000. But for the most part, the core committee is so intent on, and busy on just doing the day-to-day stuff that we feel that fundraising, outside of looking for other grant opportunities, we have no fundraising events or efforts.
Well, the way I look at it, all these people here that have donated their time, that in reality is a fundraising project. Because otherwise, if you had to hire those people to do that kind of thing, this project would have cost a lot of money. So by them volunteering their time is very similar to them donating to the Heart and Souls program. So in reality, I guess, we have had a lot of donations to the program. And again, I want to thank you people for that, your efforts.
Yeah, I was going to go in that direction as well, that, this type of a group, and I respect the question, Jim, but this type of group, it's not a fundraising type entity other than, as you said, grant writing, working for grants, and the time committed. If you were out fundraising, you wouldn't have the time to do all the things that you're volunteering your time to do right now. So I think it's well deserving of the $8,000 to keep going.
I have one question to see if I'm. So the Heart and Soul program would have cost money-wise $105,000. Is that what roughly to complete?
The original budget?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So in that, 45,000 of it was volunteer hours, which is fundraising hours. So 45,000. So you're at. So when asked what fundraising, $45,000 was fundraised by your hours. And to me, asking the town to put in $28,000 of a $105,000 project, that's not a lot of money for the work that you guys have done, and really appreciate it. Like I said, sold me on it being open last week. That was huge. A lot of people were hurting with power and everything, and they had a place to go. That was.
Do we know initially that 20,000 initially came out of TIF money? I assume this is also coming out of the TIF money?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I believe the resolve says it at the top there.
I got the resolve.
I just had it here for a second.
I printed out the resolve. Oh, we have it right here. To approve use of 20,000 from the revenues to fund the Bucksport. Well, but that's from TIF, but that was the 20 original. So
Yeah. No, my assumption is that when we had this discussion initially, we were going to use the TIF reserves to pay for this, and my assumption is, and we'll double check with the town manager, but I would assume since there's still money in there for those reasons, that we'll pull that $8,000 out of the TIF reserves. Not that it would matter one way or the other as far as I'm concerned, but my assumption is that's where it's coming from. That's just to answer a question.
Yeah, the only discussion that I had with the town manager about where the money would come from, it was given away at the last meeting. She thought that money wasn't used by
the chamber for that?
For the chamber, yeah. But there was a resolve to give that
money. We spent that.
That really came from TIF money anyway, right?
It did, and that's why I'm saying that there was.
So I would say you're probably at.
There's still like a couple $300,000 left in there that for these type of issues that for these type of projects that I think everybody is behind. So again, I don't think any of us here are asking where it's coming from. I'm just kind of putting that out there to say I think that's a good place for it to be coming from.
Is that something we have to put in the resolve?
No.
Mr. Mayor. one of the things about Heart and Soul that hasn't been mentioned is that, you know, it involved people who've been here a short period of time, people who had been here all their lives, and everything in between. And I think that's important, to get all elements of the community involved. And I think Heart and Soul was able to do that.
Any other comments from the public? From the council? Again, we have a motion and a seconded to approve the funding to complete the Heart and Souls project for $8,000. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. We're going to go on to item E, to approve resolve R 2018-20, to approve the acceptance of Royal Ridge Lane as a town way.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolve. And Jay, I believe that when that was originally built, that the highway department had actually set up some routes that would include that, so...
When it was first brought up, we adjusted our plow runs and stuff to accommodate that, and we were just waiting, so it shouldn't really impact us that much at all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a seconded to approve the resolve. Anything further from the public? Yes, sir.
Because this involves a conveyance of property, I think you might want to condition your approval on the receipt of a deed prepared by the developer.
I'd amend the motion to reference those words.
Okay. You got that, Kathy? Anything from the public on this one? Yes, sir.
Will this be what they call a 2-rod or a 4-rod easement through there?
It'll be a what?
A 2-rod road or a 4-rod road?
It'll be the standard 66-foot wide right away.
Oh, broad, okay. All right, anything further from the council?
You know, I don't know if there is a huge rush on this, and Jeff brings up a point of, you know, I want to make sure we have a proper deed and a conveyance on this, other than us just making a resolve to get this.
But if we put it on a condition, then we wouldn't have to come back.
Right.
As long as that comes through, we wouldn't have to bring it back up again.
All right. Okay. And the condition is in us approving the resolve, right? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolve as amended. Any further from the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we're going on to item 9, resignations, appointments, assignments, and elections. Do we have anything? All right. We'll go on to 10, approval of quitclaim deeds. Do we have anything on that? Okay. All right. 11 is the town manager's report for department heads. I believe you all got a copy of that?
Yep.
Any questions on any of that? Sue normally gives the report. All right, we'll go on to item 12, set public hearings and hold public hearings on approval of any licenses. We do have a license request here, and we're going to hold a public hearing, I believe, right? Okay. Okay, we're going to open a public hearing for Donald Martell and Kenneth Susi as a Friar Brew House LLC for a full-time liquor license. Declare the public hearing open. Any comments from the public? Would you like to speak at all on behalf of the brew pub?
Only to say that we're really excited about being part of what's going on in downtown Bucksport, and that we're excited about being able to put Bucksport on the brewery map in the state of Maine, and hopefully we're going to give people a good reason to take a left off the Verona Bridge. We're just really excited to be part of downtown.
Okay.
Now, it looks like your opening date is New Year's Eve?
We're going to try for a soft opening on New Year's Day.
Okay.
That's what we're going to try for. But we have an awful lot of work to do, so we'll see. But first of the year, at some point in the first of the year.
There will be a dropping of the ball on Main Street on New Year's Eve.
What,
New Year's Eve this year is a Sunday, we're otherwise occupied.
Fair enough. What's your seating?
39 seats.
39?
Yeah.
Any food?
Yes.
That will be coming. I have an application for that,
Oh.
but they can't approve that until it's all set up.
Oh, okay.
There's no kitchen per se, but we will be serving food. Probably some things that you probably never had before, so we've got a pretty creative little menu put together, but there'll be food to, yeah, by state law in a tap room, you have to have food available.
Yep.
Which can sometimes amount to the eternal pot of chili nobody ever buys. But we put together a pretty interesting little menu, and there'll be some really nice things. We're looking forward to offering a nice place to just come and sit.
What are you looking at for employees, just if you have a ballpark?
Aside from us, probably 2 more. Yeah, maybe 2, maybe 3 part-time.
Okay.
And we have already 1 part-time employee at the brewery up on Buckeye Line.
And are you looking at a 7-day week? Says 11 to 9?
5 days a week.
5 days?
Yeah, probably looking at Tuesday through Saturday with operating hours. Again, it's kind of sketchy, but probably somewhere from noon to maybe 9, something along those lines. Perhaps a little bit more in the summertime,
okay.
But pretty limited, yeah.
Thank you.
This is our retirement, which has turned into a second career. But it's all right.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Any other comments from the public? From the council?
So if we approve this, we have God on our side.
Yeah. Well, you have God on your side if you don't approve it.
Touche.
I don't think that's conditional.
Well, speaking on behalf of the council, I'm delighted that you've selected Bucksport as your next business venture, and again, welcome to town, and hope you're very successful. Okay, if no other comments, I'm going to close the public hearing. I'm going to act on this. Declare the public hearing closed. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the full-time liquor license for the Friars Brew House. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we have to...
Very good.
got that great. Jeff, are we supposed to introduce an ordinance, adopt a repeal and replacement of Appendix 1 of the solid waste, or is that...
You'll be holding a public hearing on that this evening.
We are right now, okay?
Yes.
Okay. Are we supposed to act on it afterwards? Oh, that comes up at the next meeting. Okay. We've got to hold another public hearing. This one is, shall an ordinance be adopted titled Repeal and Replace of Appendix 1 Solid Waste Flow Control Ordinance. Declare the public hearing open. Jeff, you have any comment on this, or?
I'll just give you a brief description of the purpose of this ordinance is to remove the rules for the transfer station and the fees for the transfer station. Remove those from the ordinance and relocate them in another place in the town code. And the other purpose is mainly to reformat the numbering of the ordinance to be consistent with the remaining part of the town code, and to just update outdated provisions. There are no major changes at all in this ordinance.
Okay, I know the last council meeting there were a couple of gentlemen that came here and has...
And that will be addressed as a separate issue.
Okay.
This is taking those things out and putting them in a different place.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, you'll be dealing with two resolves at a later meeting that deal with the transfer station rules and the fees.
Okay, all right. This is more of a housekeeping type issue. Okay. Any comments from the public on this? You're all set? Okay. No further comments. Going to close the public hearing. Declare the public hearing closed. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the change in the ordinance to repeal and replace the Appendix 1 Solid Waste Flow Control Ordinance. Any further from the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we're going to go on to item 13, discussion items not on the agenda for the council or the public. We'll open it up to the public first. Yes, sir.
Hi, Stephen St. Peter Jr. I had an idea. You know that vacant lot next to H&R Block, the one that's been for sale for eons now? I had an idea. How about we lower the price of that property in order to get someone there? Because I think it's a good idea. I just think it'd be a good idea. And the second thing on my little list there, is there a rule forbidding new car dealerships in Bucksport? I don't know if there is.
Forbidding it?
Yeah.
Forbidding what?
A brand new car dealership? Or, like car dealerships? I don't know if that was...
There's certain areas in town that are allowed, I believe.
Okay.
But
Well...
nothing that forbids anybody from coming forward with a business. No.
Oh, okay.
And as far as the property you're talking about, that has been negotiable. The price has been negotiable on that.
Open to offers.
Yes.
Open to offers, okay.
Based on what's going in there.
Okay. Well, I had a friend of mine that wanted to put condos there, and they're like, I would definitely buy it if it was lower. So I'll tell them this.
Come to the council or the town manager with a proposal.
Okay. Because he wanted to do something like they have in Portland. They would be pretty tall buildings, and they have retail spaces. So.
Well, that's all, as long as they follow the ordinance.
Okay. Cool.
And they can negotiate with us.
All right. Cool. I just thought I'd.
Any? Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you. I want to say thank you to Kathy and Jackie and the entire staff and all the volunteers at the polling booths. They went extremely well again this year, and they do a great job. And I think it's important we acknowledge all the efforts that they put in there. Thanks.
Thank you. You want a hand, Kathy? Any other public comments, discussions? Yes, sir.
Rich Rotella, Community and Economic Development. You saw my update in Sue's agenda, as Nancy said, when the packet was put together. Ours kind of got crossed over. But just a few more events that are coming up here. Well, today the DART Symposium was held at the Alamo Theater, the Lighthouse Art Gallery. We got some great press on that. Mrs. Key, Sue Lazard, now Leon Kimball were some of the speakers of that today, so that went well. Next Tuesday, the 14th, Mary Mayhew, who is running for Governor of Maine, will be in town. She'll be here at the town office at 8 a.m. She is going to make some tours at a couple of the local businesses in town, including downtown, and with the superintendent of schools. The Chamber of Commerce is sponsoring the Turkey Trek, which will be the 19th of November. And as Chris had mentioned, we got the Small Business Saturday on the 25th, the tree lighting celebration on the 25th, and the Holiday Lights Parade on the 9th of December, all sponsored by the town of Bucksport.
One other thing, Rick, and I want to open up to, I want the public to understand that there's an Economic Development Committee meeting next Tuesday, correct?
Yes, sir.
At 5. I throw that out there because we don't get much participation, and that's one of those meetings where a lot of different people in the community sit around and try to discuss ideas, and I think it's as important as these meetings for people to show up and express ideas and see where we want to go to make sure we're going in the right direction. So
yes,
I want to make sure that we push that out there too.
That's 5 o'clock here at the council chambers.
Correct.
That's correct. Yep, next Tuesday at 5 o'clock, and we have a pretty hefty agenda. We're going to go over the results of the broadband grant that we have. Still waiting on the final addendums that are supposed to be added, but we have enough that we could get that information out to the public. An update on ADAPT, that's the program going on with the AIM development site, and a few other agenda items as well.
Thank you. Any other discussion items for the public? Yes, sir.
Also, next Tuesday, unfortunately, it conflicted with the economic development meeting, but at 5:30 at McLeod's, Main Street is kind of coordinating a, call it like an open house with, primarily for area businesses, but for anybody who's interested in understanding all the different things that are going to go on in town during the Christmas season. So it's the second year in a row Main Street has done this to kind of coordinate with all the different efforts going on. So it's 5:30 at McLeod's.
Thank you. Okay, any other,
One thing, and maybe it's something for the streets and roads down the road, but I don't know how many people have been following Jane Donnell's pictures, the Alamo pictures on Facebook, but it takes you back into Bucksport, just some phenomenal pictures from, 70 years ago up through the present. One of them was a sign that was posted out by the Jet Party Tavern pointing up Central Street with 4 different places on it: Bucks Mills, Silver Lake, and I thought, wow, what a great way to tie in. We don't have anything, I don't think, now that points to the communities out in the rural areas of
Where some of us live out there.
you know where you have to go. But, and I just thought it was a neat old sign, and I don't know if from an ordinance standpoint, are there any issues with that? But it's something I'll bring up at the Streets and Roads Committee.
where was that sign posted?
It was right across from McLeod's on the corner of the Jet Party property, pointing out Central Street.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
Are those roads still named the same after the 9/11 thing? Okay.
Sure. Doesn't matter, we know where Bucks Mills and East Bucksport is, all right? And Peabog, all right?
Okay, any other discussion items from the public? From the council? Well, there has been some conversations with the Historical Society and the town manager in reference to possibly doing something with the Historical Society building, and possibly looking at maybe bringing some type of a small paper museum here, and working with the Historical Society to do that. Again, it's just a kind of a conversation that's going on right now, but probably after the holidays, I'd like to try to get a committee together to explore that possibility a little bit more. I mean, we have a great paper-making tradition here in town, and that's gone now, but we shouldn't forget it. It made this town what it is. The infrastructure we have and some of the facilities we have are attributed to the mill being here. So I'm going to hopefully invite as many people as possible to get involved with that, to see if that's something the town would really like to do in conjunction with the Historical Society. So be aware sometime probably after the holidays, we'll try to get something kicked off on that. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, my wife was down in Atlanta and went to a paper museum down there. The woman that runs it said she'd be happy to come up here sometime and talk to us about it, and give us a few hints as do's and don'ts.
Yeah, it might be good to have her visit right after the holidays. Any other discussion items? Do we have anything that needs to go out to committee assignments? Nothing?
No,
I don't think we have anything in ordinance, Jeff, that needs to...
Nothing from me,
No.
Okay, if not, we'll go on to item 15.
Motion to adjourn.
Go Bucks.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. Again, the Bucksport football team is playing in Dover tomorrow for the Eastern Maine Championship. The kids have worked really hard. They've come a long ways, and they're exciting to watch. But it is going to be cold. So if you do attend, make sure you dress warm. Okay, we got a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Have a good evening.